Hello there, it's Simone. I'm so glad you're here. I am going to share my currently inked review for the month of September, or at least a snippet of the pens and how those worked for me in November. And I am going to do things a little differently because I'm trying stuff out for 2024. I'm not really happy with the way that I'm noting and documenting these things. At the moment, somehow it just didn't work for me anymore, and so now I'm looking for other ways to document. This is a Rhodia notebook in A5, and there's quite some cat hair here where I'm just listing the pens that I have inked. Maybe I'll actually date that in the future so I have a better idea of when I made that list, because this list looks a lot different now than it did in the beginning of November. And maybe I'm actually even going to make a list every 14 days or so. I don't know. We will see. So this will be part of my documenting process in 2024. And then what I'm also considering, or I have decided on, using this Odyssey notebooks. It is a Cosmo Airlight notebook with a ton of pages, 300. I'm considering using that as an ongoing ink journal where I note my inked pens at the beginning of the month. Well, not sure about that yet, because we'll see. Where I note the inked pens at the beginning of the month. I would love to then maybe just write a sentence about how I liked the ink, how I liked the flow, how I liked the pen. I'm wondering if this is going to be repetitive, but I have noticed recently that sometimes how the pen feels also depends on what ink is in the pen. So maybe that is an interesting thing to look at. I did a grading system, or tried to incorporate a grading system in the beginning of 2023, and then I didn't, because I felt like it wasn't really, like there was no objectivity behind that. But when I looked through my currently inked journal to like already pre-select some pens and inks for my best of currently inked in January, once my ranking system stopped, I wasn't really sure after a month or two looking at all those pens, which ones were the ones that really worked and which ones were the ones that didn't. So I'm trying to find a good middle ground. This ink, flow, and pen I definitely got from Karina Loves to Plan, but I decided, if something works for someone else, there's no shame in using the same thing as well. I am trying to see how I like dividing it up into these sections, like so not to have the currently inked pens here and then maybe have the evaluation over there, but have it all together. And then this month I also have my deeper my first impressions and my results in this Hobonichi A6. Moving forward in 2024, I would love to have half a page each, and we will see how that goes. So let's start talking stuff. And there's cats in the background that are quite active at the moment. I currently have left, of the pens that I have started with in the beginning of November, I have left 7. I added one pen, this Sailor Pro Gear Slim Autumn Drizzle. I have uninked the Sailor Pro Gear King of Pens, and I will tell you when I get there why that was. And then this one is just was written dry. And so I decided not to ink it up again because, as I mentioned previously, I am going to ink up one pen each day, or from the 1st to the 25th of December for Inkvent. And so I am trying to let these fizzle out. I have to tell you though that I think I inked those pens on October 25th or so, and I am really, really done. I loved most of them, but I'm ready to move on to something else. And maybe this is also like, I feel I'm done with these pens so much because many of those pens were already carried over from October. Some were even carried over from September. So I'm ready to move on to something else, and I'm glad to share these pens with you today. I'm usually documenting all of this that's happening in my fountain pen companion, and then I just click on the color and it sorts them by rainbow order, and that's how I document them here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these papers out. So the paper that I'm going to use is Cosmo Air Light paper, which is very similar to Aerofool paper, and so I thought I would try these pages and just to see how it feels writing on them. And yeah, so let's go and start. I used this Pilot Custom 74 with a medium nib with Ferris Wheel Press Atlas Iron Ore, and the ink. So now I don't know if I write and talk and how long this is going to take, or if I'm going to speed up this and just not talk and then come back. I do not know, and I also haven't taken any notes on what I want to write here, so we will see how that goes. And moving forward for January, I know what to do then. I fell. Okay. So the ink is a 10 out of 10. The flow is a 10 out of 10. The pen, I would give this an 8.5. So see, now I don't know what these numbers mean, so I need to base this on whatever else. Maybe I will, if I use those points regularly and frequently in the future, I will know how to rank them with each other. So I gave the ink a 10. Let me show you what I thought about this. So now to find this is also really hard. This is like, do we want to go through this later? We will go through this later. I fell in love with this ink. Hate to admit, I'm not a big fan of Ferris Wheel Press in general, and so I usually shy away from Ferris Wheel Press inks. This one was really great surprise. Yeah, it was a surprise, and that's why I gave it 10 out of 10. I'm not sure, this pen really works great with shimmer inks, but I'm not sure that this converter is the best because there is so little space that you will get a lot of shimmer to actually come through, like even go into the converter and then go onto the page. I am not so sure that that's the right thing. So maybe a piston fill would be better for shimmer inks. I haven't really done any research about that, but if you have opinions, or not just opinions, maybe experiences that would support one or the other statement, I would love to hear. The ink flow, even with a shimmer, was fantastic, so I gave it 10 out of 10. I even saw some shimmer once in a while. I made a test page on Sanzen paper and tried all of my pens, how I liked it, and I am not sure you can see this, but the shimmer is just, it's there, but it's not the right lighting here so that I can show you. It's, I don't know what to say. I don't really care for shimmer inks, but this one was great. The next pen, oh, the pen. This pen is one of my first gold nib pens. I love this pen. It works with any ink that I put into it. I just enjoy using it. I have used it most in 2023, but the section is just that smidgen too narrow to make it an enjoyable long form writing experience. For quick notes, for some smaller things like this, it's totally fine, but if I want to write 1 or 2 pages, it starts getting uncomfortable. So I gave it an 8.5 for that. Now, the Schon Design Ultem with a monarch medium nib. This is a titanium nib made out of one rod, machined by Ian Schon. Ian is not the right way to pronounce his name. It has an Ultem feed, and it's just so unique and geeky that's why I love it. It was inked with Dominant Industry Earl Grey tea, and the ink is my favorite orange ink. I have used this ink before. I have, I just really love it. I have heard that it's dry. I have not made that experience yet. We'll see. I have a bottle of this, so I will use it more. Since I have used it before, that wasn't a surprise, and now I need enough space to actually be able to add the points. So I need to move this in further when I write. This nib, well, let me talk about the flow. The flow is extremely wet, so it gushes. I re-inked this pen. And the flow I would give maybe a 9, maybe an 8.5. I'm going to give the flow a 9 because no, it wasn't too dry. It was almost too wet. I have really come to appreciate wet flowing pens and inks over the past year. That's definitely my preferred way of writing with pens and inks, but this is almost too wet. The pen, let me just grab this. Yeah, so even though this is a number 6 size nib-ish, so this is doesn't technically fall into any of the categories, but the section fits other JoWo number 6 nibs. I think that it is super thin here and it narrows down to a very, very small section. So I'm going to give the pen an 8.5. What I love about this pen is I love the machining that is behind it, and love that it is a machining. Let's just write machining. I love the material. I am just very geeky when it comes to this, but it is definitely not the most comfortable pen. It's also just that tad bit too short, and I feel like it's almost too long. And this cap, it does post, but it feels off. So yeah, it's not my favorite. And I think maybe what I will do is take this nib off and put it on a different pen just to see how I like it there. Not to say that I'm not going to keep this pen, because I just really love what this pen stands for. I have talked about my fountain pen collection in a recent video where I shared my thoughts on why I give a pen the permission to stay in my collection. And it is not necessarily always the comfort level or the specialty nib that is on the pen. There is other factors that make a pen worthy of staying in my collection. The pen that I inked up sometime in November, I inked this up to film a comparison video between the 3 Sailor medium fine nibs that I had in my possession at that time. I inked it up with the same ink to see a comparison between all 3 nibs. The reason why I did that is because this one has a 14K medium fine nib in the smaller size nibs for the Pro Gear Slim. The other pen that I'm not currently having here, the Sailor Pro Gear Slim Autumn Drizzle, has also had a medium fine nib, but a 21K nib, also in this size. And then this one has a medium fine nib in the 21 karat gold nib as well, but it is a bigger nib. And I just wanted to see how differently they wrote, how differently they felt, and if I would be able to see differences. Now, again, I inked this up with an ink that I already know, so this ink gets 10 out of 10, and I am going to write, this is my favorite yellow ochre. So there is no surprises here. Ink. The flow is a Now, if I compare this with this, then I would give this less. But if I just compare this to, if I just look at the flow that this pen has and not consider any other pens, then I would give it a 10. This pen was tuned, and now it is definitely a wet writer. And you can see how well the ink flows. And I like that. And it's also smooth. I took this with me to the San Francisco Pen Show and had Kirk Spear from Pen Realm tune and smooth it. He made it less scratchy and he made it wet, and that is really amazing. I would actually, so in the comfort level, this pen, or my points for this pen, this is probably the lowest number of all of them right now. This is a very tiny pen. I cannot use this unposted, so I have to use it posted. It has a really nice weight and it is well balanced when it is posted. However, the section is just even smaller than the Pilot Custom 74, and I just feel I cannot use this for longer writing sessions. So I am going to give this a 7. The section is just too narrow. And that's it. I also just, I don't know. I'm not sure that this nib, so now I have a pen that is not super comfortable. I have a pen that I don't have an emotional attachment. I'm not geeking out over this pen. And I'm also not convinced that this nib gives me anything. So it's a nice nib, it writes smoothly, but is it special? I'm not sure. So I might sell this pen in the future. This pen is the Sailor Pro Gear Classic Orange. It also has a medium fine nib. It is the 21K, as I just recently mentioned, and it is also inked with Diamine Brandy Snap. And if you look at the writing samples on this page, you can see how much more shading this nib gives me. So and if you've been following for a while, I've really been very surprised by this nib, by how it writes, by the comfort level of this pen, and I've been debating whether to keep this pen or not. The ink is, well, it's even better in this pen. So what I noticed though, and I'm not sure that this is because this nib was smoothed or not, is that this nib gives me a lot more feedback than this nib does, which is actually something that I really enjoyed. So the flow is a 10. I really enjoyed using. Can you hear this? This is not something, this pen and ink combo, that disturbs me, but it is something that tells you about the feedback of this pen. And I am not sure that, so I've been talking about maybe I want to keep this pen. This was on loan, and the person who loaned it to me would love to sell this pen. And if you're looking for it, I think she's selling it for quite a good price. That's why I was thinking of keeping it. If you're looking for a good priced Sailor Pro Gear, then you probably should consider it, especially if you like the medium fine nibs. This nib has such a great personality. It is bouncy, and that's what I enjoyed about this nib. I'm not sure that I would enjoy the medium fine nib in the long term. I love this, but I think contrary to my prior expressions, I think I'm going to return this pen to my friend, and I'm going to save up for the specific pen that I am eyeing. I have loved since it came out in a medium nib. I think that will give me just the tad bit more comfort that I'm looking in an expressive medium 21K Sailor nib. And as much as I like the orange color, I'm just always a little bit put off by the black finials and the black, well, actually the black grip section isn't really a problem, but I just don't know if I care for those black finials. And yes, even if I would get this for a good deal, it's still money that I'm spending that I could put towards saving for a pen that I really want to get. So this pen gets I'm going to give it a 7 as well. Well, maybe a 7.5, just because I enjoy the nib a little bit more. I think I would enjoy the medium more in a different design. Now, the question is, or the hope is, that this pen is still available when I have the funds available for that. But yeah, that's this pen in short. Let's see what we're at with timing. Oh, I can't because it already stopped once. Now, I'm not sure this pen is still writing because it is basically sucked dry. Yep, let's see. I think I used it yesterday and I had a problem with it already. This is the Benu Euphoria in Gold Coast. It is an Atlas exclusive pen and I just love this pen. It was inked with Teranishi Guitar Gentle Green. The minute I swatched this ink that was sent to me as a sample by my friend Marilyn, I knew exactly that I would love this ink and I would need a bottle of this. I put the ink in this pen. I ordered a bottle that day and I couldn't be happier. I just love how, so the ink gets a 10. It probably should get an 11 because I can absolutely tell that this is my favorite ink of the year. This is my favorite. (2023). The flow is a 9.5. Why? The flow, this medium nib, you can't really tell because it's, yeah. This medium nib is, let me just grab a different pen. I'm going to write Abomination with my Hobonichi Uniball pen. Nib is almost too wet. Especially on Tomoe River paper for this ink. I really enjoy when I still have the feeling that I can manage and handle the pen, but when it's too much, then it just, you know, the letters just morph together, and I would love to have a distinguished line. The pen is a 10. I love the design, and I love the comfort of this pen in my hand. It's just, for my hand, this pen has it all. It's the exact perfect length. It is perfect balanced. The nib is a number 6 size nib, which I prefer over the smaller nibs. And yeah, the grip section is where I grip it. It's perfect. The steps, it's a gradual step up. This one is rounded. There's no sharp corners. The threads are smooth. You don't even feel them, even if and when, because that's where I hold the pen. Grip it here. It's perfect. So there's this. So I would really have, let's rank them at the end. Next pen is the Esterbrook SD Scarlet with a cursive smooth italic with an oblique, and the inked with the Scribo Verde Mediterraneo. The ink is a 10. It is a lovely, what is this, teal? Dark teal with just a hint of sheen or halo. And it's a red halo. The flow is a 10. The ink flowed. So do I write this the same way every time? Flowed nicely. And it's a wet writing experience. Wet experience. Just exactly the wetness that I like. The pen is a, let's do the same as this one, I think. 8.5. So Why do I give this an 8.5? I really love the Esterbrook Estes. I enjoy writing with them. They're a staple. You know, I know that I enjoy this pen shape, the section, the comfort level of this pen is perfect. I put this a custom ground nib on this pen. Maybe I should even put a 7.5. When I unscrewed the nib, the original nib that was on here, it was really hard to take it off. Then I tried this nib and I screwed it on, and I noticed when I screwed it on that it had some resistance, and now I can't get it off. So that is definitely a total negative for me, because I have these Estes in order to swap nibs around. Basically, they're just nib holders for me. So that's one thing that is not the greatest. The other thing that is not the greatest, or that I still struggle with, is the custom nib grind that I had Kirkspear made for me. I'm not sure if it's the Cursive Smooth Italic. I think it's the oblique, and if you am coming closer, you can actually see how it's a little bit tilted towards this side. I have a hard time to get started. I'm surprised that my penmanship looks this neat and nice. Usually when I start writing with this pen, I have a hard time finding the right angle to use it. And I wish it was differently. And I don't know if this is just how this is because it's an oblique and I need to find the sweet spot where it works for me. It writes in most angles, but I can't keep writing consistently with it. And so that's where I'm struggling with, and I'm not sure if it's me, if it's the nib, or whatever. So, annoyed that I can't unscrew. Nib, and still getting used to oblique. I think it's the oblique, so I'm just going to write this. Alrighty, so if I had to rank, and I will later on, if I had to rank this ink gets a 10, this flow gets a 10, this pen gets a 10. So there you have it. This is just, can you see this? I complained about this right here, but I don't mind here. I don't know what's wrong with me. This is just the perfect shade of magenta, and I already know that I will buy a bottle of this. I have a bottle of this. I have a bottle of this. So you know that what are my ink comments going to be? Just high praises. The flow. This pen is extremely wet. It spews. I like this word. I think this is even though I gave it 10, 10, 10, I think this pen and ink combination is not 100% perfect, just 99.9. I think the combination of a very wet ink and a very wet pen makes this just a spewer of ink. And I really enjoyed it in this nib. Probably because it's a fine. I had a hard time managing the medium nib on the Monarch. And so, but I really love, this is because I'm writing small. In my journal, I have lines that are wide enough so I can like get a little bit bigger, and then it is amazingly comfortable. This pen, this is one of my favorite pens. and I switched out the extra fine nib and sold it and bought the fine nib from my friend Kristen, and now it is one of my favorite pens. It just, even though I know that some people say they slid down, I feel like if I grip it just here where these notches are to click, listen to this. This is what makes this clicking sound, are these two notches. If I grip them here, this pen is really comfortable. It is very well balanced posted. It just, yeah. But I do have, because it is conical towards the tip and there's no ledge and it is smooth here, I do notice that sometimes I have a death grip on this, and that makes this pen then uncomfortable. But if I am writing and I'm remembering to just let loose and then continue writing and then just do this, I love it. This is one of my favorite pens in nib and comfort. So yeah, I could see myself dedicating this ink to this pen and just keeping it inked all the time. And if you know me, you know that that's kind of weird coming from my mouth. This ink is you are going to be surprised, is a 10. I swatched this ink because I got a sample from my friend Mitz. I will link the video in the cards up above, and it wasn't labeled. And then I realized that I actually have this ink as a bottle because it was the day 25 of the Inkvent 2021. Diamine All the Best. I put it into this pen, the Lamy Allstar Petrol, with a 1.5 stub nib, and I'm so surprised that I love this ink. I just enjoy the weirdness of this ink so much. It is a deep dark red. It's not pink. It has a golden sheen, and then it has some purple magenta shimmer. You can see this in the swatch right here. And I did not agitate the pen right now, so I don't know if there is any shimmer left. I don't really know, but I can tell you that. So I said I re-inked this once. I re-inked this pen and I re-inked this pen. I wrote some letters and I loved, using my water brush, writing something big, like let's say 1.5 right here. And if you've watched Chris Sains, she does that in her ink journal, and I did that in my letters, and it was so much fun. I'm gonna fill this in later on, but I'm gonna continue this here. The flow, well, it was a 9. So you saw me when I talked. It clogs when thinking. Well, clogs is not the right word when thinking. It just heart starts. Heart starts is the better word. Because it actually did not clog. The shimmer did not clog this pen. You can see the shimmer right here. So I'm going to be interested in seeing how it's going to clean out. The pen is I have recently fallen in love with Lamy pens again, even though the grip section is narrower than I would prefer. I do hold my pens just like the suggested grip suggests, and that makes it super comfortable because I don't have to readjust. It doesn't slide around, it doesn't move. It's just here, I hold it like this, and this is comfortable. the grip section is perfect for my grip, and that just makes it comfortable, and it also feels like home, because this is the pen that I used in school. Home. So I do have space, and I'm not going to rank the pens that I emptied out before I made this grid, but I'm going to tell you what I thought about these things. Now I'm looking for my water brush, and it's not here. Going to freak out. No, I'm not, but I wanted to show you what I meant when I said so. And then I would just use my water brush and activate the ink, and you can see how this is not a pink, this is a dark red, and this is what I want to do on the pages. And yeah, so let's quickly talk about these two. I inked the Esterbrook SDC glass with a journaler nib on September 25th. This was inked with Diamine Inkvent Ruby Blues, and it was the first sheening ink that I absolutely enjoyed. I had a great experience with this pen with this ink in this pen. I still did not see a lot of this cerulean blue base color, but it was visible on OK Fool's paper. And this was also a hard start pen when thinking, so maybe that's just a thing with sheening inks that is just not being able to be prevented. I cleaned it on November 8th, so this was inked for a very, very long time, and that's how you can see that I actually really liked this pen and ink combination. Let's talk about this. You can see how splotchy this ink looks here, and this is how it wrote in the pen as well. Globby maybe even, and I did not enjoy this. And so yes, it was legible and that was cool, but I was hesitant about the ink, and I was right, I don't enjoy it. The blobby shading is what really puts me off. The pen is great, the ink flows well, very wet, but the color isn't for me. So I uninked it on November 8th. This Sailor Pro Gear Slim Autumn Drizzle with a medium fine nib was inked with Waterman Tender Purple. I had hoped that the 121 karat gold nib would be as expressive as this nib, but it isn't. And I think the reason why is the size. It just doesn't have enough space to bounce like this one. So I was actually quite disappointed when I inked it up first. And yeah, it is wet, it is smooth, but I am definitely going to sell that pen when I have it back, or the friend is going to buy it from me. We haven't talked about that yet, but no, this pen is just not necessary to be kept in my collection. So the ink though is lovely. If I was buying ink bottles, which I don't, unfortunately, I would totally purchase a bottle of this ink. For now, I'm just going to keep using the sample that I have. I inked it on October 12th and I uninked it on November 8th. So let me rank the pens and then tap out. I think that, so this is a good indication for what I loved. Yeah, I think this is a very good indication on how I enjoyed using these pens. Every time I used this, I had so much joy. I think the fact that I had it inked for so long speaks for itself. The fact that I put this ink into this pen when I received and swatched it also speaks for itself. I had this pen inked since the beginning of October, and I never really uninked it. I even switched all the other inks to this color because I love it so much, and I still really love it. I just don't love it enough to keep it. This is a perfect staple. It just is on number 5 because there were so many other good pens. And then another staple. This I really liked it. You saw it, but I still need to figure out what exactly it is that I enjoy about this. And then here I struggled with the oblique. This is a nice, like, lovable pen that is just not the right size for me. And then this was an ink failure, and I am really looking forward to inking this up again in December to see how I enjoy it then. Alrighty. Did I say that this was the Sailor King of Pen with a broad nib? I think I didn't, but look at this nib. It's just so fabulous. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a fun video for you to watch. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them in the description box below. And if you are interested in purchasing any pens that you saw here, I do have an affiliate code with Atlas Stationers where I got these 3 pens, but you can get most of those pens that you can see here over in their shop. There are some exclusions that apply, and I will see you soon because you know what? It is going to be really loud in my house right now. I do have a few more pens on loan from my friend Katie. And I'm really looking forward to testing these pens in December with some of those shimmer inks that are going to be in the Inkvent. We all know that the Inkvent is always quite shimmer heavy, so there's no surprises there. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that experience. I will not share a currently inked video in December because I'm diving into that Inkvent rabbit hole, but I will be back with my experience with all of those inks at the end of December, and you know, swatching videos and all that jazz will be there for sure. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.